All right, thousands of Zimbabweans living in South Africa might find themselves stranded after government decided to do away with Zimbabwean exemption permits. This makes it almost impossible for them to secure work permits with a grace period of 12 months currently in place. Advocate Simba Chitando, representing the Zimbabwean Exemption Permit Holders Association, joins us. And we are also with Nhlanhla Lux, the head of the Soweto Parliament. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. Simba, let me start with you. When the Cabinet announced yesterday that there will no longer be an extension of the ZEP after the 31st of December, what did you think?
My reaction was that of dismay. I thought it was a very bad decision, bad for several reasons. Earlier, I heard one of your colleagues saying that there's a COVID crisis at the moment. 12 months, knowing that Home Affairs is already understaffed because of the COVID restrictions, is impossible for anyone to comply with that decision. And we have a serious crisis on our hands, and the next 12 months are going to be very difficult for Zimbabweans on the ZEP permit. So it was that of dismay, and I think it was a bad decision, and obviously will be, my clients have instructed me to challenge that decision in court.
Nhlanhla, you marched basically during the course of the week. You did make it clear that you have no issue with foreign nationals who are in the country legally, but those who are not in the country legally should not be here, or at least try to make sure that they have their permits. When you heard what Mondli Gungubele, the minister in the presidency, said yesterday about the ZEPs, what did you think?
We welcomed the decision by our government, and you know, we South Africans are very tolerant. If you look at these permits, they've been there since 2009. We had an extension in 2014, and another one in 2017. So there's an expectation to have another extension on these permits, but without real intention to fix the problems in Zim. We as young people in South Africa are saying that, why don't we take all this effort, my brother, all of this effort, and say that let's join hands and fix the environment in Zim so that we don't have people running away from another country to another country. As we speak, we've got a new variant. We've got millions, not just thousands, millions of illegal, undocumented foreigners in South Africa. Zim is just a drop in an ocean. We've got the entire continent rushing to South Africa. Imagine if we did for all the illegal foreigners what Zim is expecting us to do for them. We're already running low on electricity supply for South Africans. Water supply is an issue here in South Africa. The hospitals are taking a big hit here in South Africa. We've got a new strand. We'll take another hit. And then we're expected to do for illegal foreigners what the government can't do for ordinary South Africans. I think that is unfair.
Do you think what he's saying is fair?
Well, it's not fair and it's not correct. Factually, first of all, ZEP holders are not illegal, they're documented. So just as a premise, they're lawful, and they're lawfully in the country until obviously the grace period, which will come 12 months after the end of December. The next point is that South Africa is not an island. My brother, rightfully, you mentioned electricity and water supply. Those resources are not that South Africans enjoy in this country. Just as an example, because you mentioned it, a lot of it comes from Lesotho, which is your neighbor. It also comes from other African countries. We are not, no country is an island. I like the graphic. It has got Zimbabwean and the South African flag blended together. You cannot separate the two. The one can't do without the other. So it's important that we accept and understand that South Africa's progress will not take place without Zimbabwe and vice versa. So for that reason, I say it's unfair.
So
all right.
I'd actually like to respond to that, because you are saying that the permits allow our brothers and sisters from Zimbabwe to be legal. The permits allow them, but without the permits, they are not. That's why government is saying that after the 12-month period, the grace period, it's either people will go home or they will be deported. So before we issue out the permits, they are not legal. And that's where I'm basing my argument on. So it's very unfair for you to say that I'm not being factual. I'm being very factual, because the permits are going to the illegal foreigners. Am I wrong?
You are wrong. I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong because you're saying that the government's decision is that after the 12-month grace period, they'll be deported. That's not what the government's decision actually is.
Yeah.
The government's decision is that after the 31st, or after the end of December, the people on ZEP will have to migrate to other permits provided for by the Act.
Yes.
So just on that
failure to do so after 12
there
months,
you're
they
wrong.
have to be deported.
Yes. Well, if they do migrate lawfully onto other permits within the 12-month
then they
period,
don't. But I'm saying just based on
so
this
you're wrong.
permit,
You're accepting.
just based on this permit that we're talking about now, if we don't have an extension, if we're not going to issue this permit as the government says.
All right, let me just quickly come in there, gentlemen. So basically, what Nhlanhla was saying is that once the 12 months have lapsed,
yes,
then if you were not able to get any other document to be in the country, then you're here illegally, and he feels that government is right in saying that they should leave. So are you agreeing to that, or are you, because what Simba is saying, Nhlanhla, is that those 12 months will be very difficult for the Zimbabwean nationals to be able to get any other way to stay in the country, especially because, and you'd agree, that our Home Affairs officers are in tatters.
Yes, look, I agree certainly, and I sympathize with my brothers and sisters from Zim. But again, we must never forget that it's impossible to give what you do not have. We do not have the resources that we're expected to give. Our hospitals are going to take a big knock from this new variant. So what must you do? Must you say that the lines must be 50% Zim, 50% SA, 50% Ethiopian, 50% Nigerian? We are struggling as South Africans. We are saying that we have equal problems. We are not dealing with a Zimbabwe where we can't all go and hold hands and fix the problems that side so that the problem doesn't become South African. We are not saying we are neglecting Zimbabwe as an African neighbor. We are saying that we are willing to help. But when you are in problems, you do not dictate how we're going to host you here. How dare you take our government to court after taking a decision? You come to my house, I host you, and then when my mother buys me Christmas clothing, because she doesn't have enough money to buy for everyone, you take her to court. Do you think you'll remain living in my house?
Simba, your response to that very quickly, do you think that it's fair to put this on South African shoulders? I mean, the statistics, for instance, say that there's about 250,000 Zimbabweans who are on these permits and who are expecting to stay in the country, and he's saying we don't have the resources. So is it fair to expect, like Nhlanhla is saying, your response to him, that we provide things that we actually don't have?
Well, if Zimbabweans and South Africans can't do business, then there will be no resources for South Africa to speak of. See, that's why I said that the two economies are merged. You cannot look at it, you can't ring fence an issue. It's a very it's complex, but I think one of the, I overheard, so one of the experts earlier was talking about the markets and the coronavirus before we came on. Americans and tourists are not going to be coming in because of coronavirus. So who are your customers? Zimbabweans. And you want to remove over 200,000 of them after a 12-month grace period if they don't migrate. If Zimbabweans stop buying South African goods, is that going to be good for your economy? You will have less, not more, if there's a clash between the two countries. It's very important to realize that. South Africa is Zimbabwe's biggest trading partner.
All right.
We're your customers. So my brother said that you're in my house, I host you, and you sue my mother, you sue a relative, or whatever it is.
That's it.
Another analogy is, what happens when you tell your customers to go away? What do? They'll stop buying your goods.
Sure.
And there'll be less South Africans in the job if that were to take place.
All right,
we are your customers.
Unfortunately, I've run out of time, and I want to invite you, the two of you, to probably come back. We'll discuss, of course, off air when you'll have the time, where I'll give you even more time to put your plights across and tell us both sides. And I think they're both very important, very equally important. Nhlanhla Lux from Soweto Parliament, as well as Simba Chitando, who is an advocate representing the Zimbabwean Exemption Permit Holders Association. Thank you both for your time.